I really recognized when I went through that breakup that I had two choices, and it was stay quote unquote safe in this box, or it was to actually start to make decisions that felt fucking insane and dangerous and scary in the moment, but that I knew on the deepest level of me were going to be the things that set me free to have the life and the love that I actually wanted to have in this world. You're listening to the Heartbreak Alchemy Podcast with Alaska Wolf. So I know that you think that in order to heal your heartbreak, the thing that you need to learn how to do is to just let go of your ex, to move on from the relationship you had, to move on from the person that they were and who you guys became together. That you need to just let them go, to delete them, to block them, to remove them from your life so fully that you never return to this place. But the truth is, in order to truly heal the pain of this heartbreak, to break the patterns that you are replaying over and over in your life, you actually need to let go of the version of yourself that chose them in the first place. And from there, to become the version of yourself that would never choose them or anybody like them ever again. And I invite you to take a breath around that one, because it can really be a big realization that actually the thing that we're trying so hard to get away from, our ex, the relationship, the memories, the pain, this is actually the portal to the version of ourselves and to the life that we truly want to live. And it feels almost counterintuitive, right? Because the whole world will tell you that when you move through a breakup, the thing you want to do is to get so far away from that pain, because the pain that you're feeling, the heartbreak, is the enemy. It feels bad. You should want to avoid it or run away from it or escape it. And the thing is that in order to truly release yourself from the pattern that you're playing out, you need to move towards the pain that you're feeling. And I actually don't even mean just the immediate pain of the heartbreak. I mean the deeper pain that lays underneath the heartbreak that you are experiencing, but also recreating. Because every time you move through a heartbreak, yes, you are experiencing heartbreak in that moment with that person from that relationship, but it's also bringing up the pain of heartbreak that you have repeatedly felt throughout your life. From the moment that you were a young child with your parents, where they couldn't love you the way that you felt you needed to be loved, because as children, we have this insatiable need for love. Like, we need to be loved in this perfect way that's impossible in this human world. Our parents doing the best that they can, even if they were the most incredible parents, still will have moments of disconnection, where we as children felt like a chasm between us and our parents. We felt like we were in an ocean of sadness or an ocean of grief or an ocean of disconnection with them. And so when we're going out into the world and we find heartbreak in our lives, when we find partners that we love and then disconnect from, it brings up that original pain. And this is why heartbreak can be so challenging in the moment, because not only is it the heartbreak that you're experiencing in that moment with that person in that relationship, but it's an echo of all of the heartbreaks that you've experienced in your life. The feeling of disconnection, the feeling of loss, the feeling of not being chosen, the feeling of not being loved, the feeling of being abandoned. And that echo starts to feel bigger and bigger over time. And this is often why we can actually start to close down to love. We can start to close down to our emotions. We can start to close down to our experiences, because the echo of pain that starts to happen becomes so big that we try and find ways to protect ourselves. We try and find ways to make ourselves not need to feel those things. And often that's by shutting down to the experience in the first place. You'll find yourself going through relationships and noticing how you've put up all these different walls that exist in your world. I was actually having a conversation with somebody in my DMs yesterday, and she specifically was speaking about something that I had been speaking on my stories, which was the not being open for help. The feeling that everything in my life I had to do myself, the feeling that I could not rely on anybody else, the feeling that I was just constantly going to have to hustle and go it alone and make sure that I could handle my edge of the street because there was no one really there to help me if I needed help. And so that became a protective mechanism for me, but also for her. She was like, wow, I just felt so much resonance when I read those words, because like the way that I protect myself is by not needing anything, by not needing help, by not needing touch, by not needing care in moments where I'm distressed or actually need that care, And this is why we end up going back into relationships over and over and over that feel very similar, where the pain is echoing, where the relationship is echoing the same things that we've experienced over and over and over in our lives. Because the truth is, when we move on in a relationship, when we move on from the relationship, when we just let it go and move on and think like, I'll just choose better next time, we're not actually doing any of the deeper work that it'll take in order to be able to make those new decisions, right? Because if you think about it, like, well, why did you choose that person in the first place? What are the deeper elements to why you actually chose them? And I think back to my own relationship. Like, I think back to this relationship where I was so attracted to this man because he really represented parts of me that I had lost. He was so fun and open, and he felt so connected to his emotions. He was the life of the party, and I just I wanted that so bad. I wanted so badly to have that confidence and that openness and that just willingness to be truly seen, And so these were the things that initially really attracted me to my ex-partner, because he represented to my subconscious this part of myself that I was lacking, that I wanted to have by being in proximity to him, that I thought he completes me in some way, right? Because if he has these qualities and we're a couple, then either I will be able to have these qualities or I can just have them through him because I'm beside him, right? But on the other hand, I was also really attracted to my ex-partner because he and I had a relationship dynamic that was extremely reminiscent of the relationship that I had with my mom. The exact way that he made me feel, the emotions he brought up, the pains and traumas that were triggered, the feelings that I felt around him, the exact buttons of traumas and triggers that we would press for each other, the things, the dynamic, the way that the energy moved between us. In this subconscious way, I had this draw towards it because it was so familiar for me, right? And so when you think about all of that happening, all of that was happening in the subconscious for both of us. No conscious awareness of any of this. We just thought hey, we're attracted to each other. This is feeling like it's going to go. You know what I mean? But when you think about the weight of all that's happening behind the scenes, behind the curtains for you and for the other person in terms of getting together with them to create a relationship, you actually understand why just choosing better is the most challenging, impossible thing to do before you're actually have brought conscious awareness to the things that are actually making you choose one way or another, right? Because the truth was, in all of the subconscious stuff that was happening to draw us to each other, to create this relationship that was just this echo chamber of pain and difficulty and past traumas and past relationships, there was thoughts that we had. There was beliefs that we held. There was conditioning that we were given around ourselves and around love and around society and around what it took to be chosen and loved in this world. There was patterns that we were playing out. There was models of relationship that we were referring to depending on what we believed love was. There was versions of ourselves that we were being inside of that relationship that were so specific. And all of these elements are what actually draw you to choose one person over another. In the whole world of people, you could choose quite literally anyone. But you will be attracted, until you do the work, to people that hurt you in the same way as you are used to being hurt. Whew. Like, there's so many ways in which just choosing better is not possible if you can't see yourself as somebody that can have the type of love that you actually want to have. Because the truth is, the traumas and pains that we hold, they desire to be healed. And so the universe is going to continually offer us up these opportunities to heal the pain that we hold inside of us that is holding us back from having the life, the love, the relationships, the sex, the friendships, the money, the career, the success that we actually want to have. And so when you look back at your ex-partner, you can see that he was representing a very specific version of you that wanted to heal very specific traumas and pains that are happening within you. Like for me, it was around being chosen. It was around being fully chosen. It was around being safe inside of relationship. It was around being safe inside of sexuality. There was very specific nuanced things that I wanted to heal, and I was going to continue to choose patterns and people over and over and over until I was actually able to reach a point where, for one way or another, I was able to resolve that pain. And we think in our subconscious mind that the way that we're going to resolve that pain is by finally making that person in front of us that represents all of the pain and trauma that we've had with our parents and with our caregivers and with other people in our life. We think that the way to get absolution is to make them finally love us in the way that we actually needed to be loved. That's what we've been told. Manic pixie dream girl gets avoidant man to love her, and she finally feels the love that she always wanted to have in her life, and then she's fixed. Isn't that the plot to most Hollywood movies? Then they live happily ever after, or at least we hope they do, because we don't see them after the big declaration of love. They walk off into the future and we presume that everything goes well for them. But like, the truth is, if you are waiting for love outside of yourself to heal you, you are going to be waiting a very long time. And so every new relationship feels like it's offering us the chance to solve the pain that we've experienced in love in the past, right? Because we can finally get this new person that represents all of the relationship desires that we have, to love us, to see our worth, to really believe that we are worthy of being chosen. We will finally convince them and push them and make them love us in the exact right way that will heal us from all of the pain of our past. And then we'll be saved. We'll be saved from this pain. We'll be saved from this repeating loop of trauma. But the truth is, that is an almost impossible task. Not only because it puts so much pressure on the other person, but also because we are literally choosing the person that is the least well equipped to actually love us in the way that will heal us. Because we are choosing them specifically because they remind us of the pain that we've experienced in the past. And this is why we keep ending up in these cyclic loops where these relationships feel oddly familiar, or they have the same vibe to them, where ultimately you're feeling like you're gripping and grasping and trying to convince somebody of something that you need them to believe in order for you to feel okay. But the way that you step sideways off of this pattern, off of this ride, is to recognize that each relationship, and so each heartbreak, is giving you a new opportunity to actually choose a different way. To finally choose to recognize all of the things that this heartbreak is here to teach you. To recognize all of the things, all of the messages that this heartbreak holds for you. All of the things it wants to show you about your own relationship to yourself, to allow you to become free, to actually create the love, but also the life that you truly want to live. Because I can promise you that if you find yourself in relationships where you are struggling and pushing and pulling and trying to convince somebody of your worth, of your value, of all of the things that you bring to the table, if you are finding yourself in relationships where you have to push and pull and grip and grab, and you are settling and tolerating and just like shape-shifting yourself and people-pleasing, I can promise you that in other places in your life, you will find these same patterns. And they might look different, right? Like you can still be somebody that's in a challenging, toxic, destructive relationship and have a great career. This is absolutely possible. But you will notice that there will be elements of your life where you are capping yourself, where you're not allowing yourself to dream as big as you could, where your standards are lower than you'd actually like them to be, where you allow people to step over your boundaries, where you allow yourself to kind of think like, it's okay. Like, I know this is just like not quite what I want to do, but it's kind of close. Or like, this isn't quite the money I want to make, but it's kind of close. So like, I'll just let it, you know? You will find those same patterns that show up in your love life in every other aspect of your life. Work, money, friendship, success, love, sex. It's going to be everywhere in different ways. And that's why doing the work of healing around heartbreak actually is something that not only transforms your love life, your sex life, your intimate life, your friendships, it actually really impacts every single aspect of your life. Because when you start to shift the things that you believe about yourself and think about yourself, when you start to shift the somatic experience that you have around taking chances or making bold moves or saying I love you or choosing people that feel like not in alignment with your trauma, but in alignment with your highest values, with your highest good, with the version of yourself you actually want to become. When you start being around people that inspire you rather than drag you down and pull you back down into the trenches, life starts to get very fucking interesting. Let me tell you. Because actually when I look back to the me I was in my relationship, wow, I was just needing to hustle so hard. Like everything felt like such a fight to get to. And I don't just mean inside of the relationship, I mean inside of the wider life that I was living at that time in my life, you know? Because ultimately at the base of all of the things that you struggle with inside of your relationship are things like not really loving yourself. Like not in that true core way where you're like, no, I love myself, I back myself, I see my value, I see my worth. I don't need you to choose me because I fucking choose me. I don't need to like lose myself in this relationship because I love myself and I value the life that I'm creating with or without the person. Like the person in front of me is always just like someone that is there to add to my life. And if that is not the case, I am capable, willing, and able to let them go because I can recognize the misalignment. There's not a desperation for this person to provide you with worth or value or belonging. And so then you become free. Because when you're not relying on other people to give you those things, you are self-sourced and you are able to give those things to yourself. And it means that you're not reliant on other people in this way that keeps you hostage to them. The relationships that we have with other people are also going to really illuminate how you treat yourself, how your relationship is with yourself. Like, do you trust yourself? Do you abandon yourself? Are you connected to yourself? Are you connected to what you want and you dream of and you desire? Are you connected to your body, or are you numbing all the time to try and keep those emotions down? To kind of push down the things in your life that you're experiencing because you don't like them and you just want to be rid of them. So you're like, I'll just be numb. Are you always operating from this place of like hustle and grind and make things go and like feeling like you're really trapped in this very masculine world where we live in, where you've got to hustle and grind and build and fix? Or actually, are you able to lean back a little bit? Are you able to trust the space around you? Are you able to trust the space of emotion and creation and like becoming? Are you actually able to trust what your intuition is telling you? Are you able to trust the connections that you're creating around you? What does this relationship show you about how you feel about yourself? Your confidence in yourself, your confidence in your body, your confidence in your beauty, your security around who you are and what you bring to this world. The relationship will show you where you're feeling really insecure in yourself. where you're anxious or avoidant, or your attachment style is being triggered constantly by the people that you're choosing to have in your life? Like, where is the relationship that you're choosing with other people also showing you how low your standards are for your love life, for your sex life, for the intimacy that you have with other people? Where is the relationship showing you that you're actually really anxiously attached? Where is it showing you that you lean into avoidance instead of like stepping into actual true connection with people? Where are there old beliefs and stories and conditioning and identities that are coming up where you settle in life? Where you have to be somebody other than who you truly are in order to be chosen or to be loved? These relationships are showing up to show you all of these things about yourself so that you can let go of that version of yourself that is choosing this pattern. Because by actually letting go of all of those parts of yourself that are holding you back from having the relationship and the life that you truly want to have, that is how you are able to step forward and create something incredible in your life. Right? And so over and over and over, you'll find yourself in relationships and situations and experiences that are giving you this same message, where they are showing you this version of yourself that you need to evolve from. You need to expand past. You actually need to heal all of the elements of that version of yourself that are standing in the way of the life and the love and the experiences and the relationships and the career and the success and the money that you actually want to have in this world. Because until you choose to evolve past the version of yourself that is holding you back, it is holding you in this very specific small version of life, you cannot create the life that you truly want to live. Right? And so all the vision boards in the world are not going to get us to the place where we can move forward and have that life, because there's all of these elements that are standing in the way. And so healing deeply after a heartbreak is the removal of all of those blockades, all of those things that are like a bunch of furniture in the way of the door, like there's like a sofa in the way, there's a desk in the way, the fridge is pushed up against that wall. And the version of yourself you are right now is terrified because they believe that the outside world is the enemy. They believe that the outside world is out to get them. They believe that the outside world is unsafe. But actually, the door to the outside world is actually the portal to getting the life that you truly want to live, whatever that looks like for you. Like for me, the outside of the door was like moving to Thailand, starting an incredibly different new business, working with women, going out on the internet, talking about all these incredibly personal things like heartbreak and loss and sex and intimacy, and like being seen in this really big, vulnerable way. And then going out into the world and creating new friendships and new relationships and allowing myself to become this woman that I only really ever dreamt of. This woman that is safe and secure and steady as she moves through her life. A version of myself that is embodied in her sexuality, that actually feels the emotions that come up in her body, that feels the sensations, that is connected to herself in a way that allows her to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows. The version of myself that is secure and embodied when she goes out into the world doing the work she does, charging the money she does, creating the success she does. Like this version of myself that I knew was out there in the outside world, I was terrified of walking through the door that it was going to take to get it, because I had to remove piece by piece all of the furniture in the way of that door. To stay with the analogy that I'm going with here. And so on many levels, I had to fight my way out of that room. That limitation, that space that I decided was safe. Like I had decided it was safe to be in toxic relationships. I had decided that it was safe to have friendships where people didn't really show up for me. I had decided it was safe that I was always the savior and the person that gave more in the relationship. I decided it was safe to be numb during sex because then I didn't need anything and I could just like do whatever they wanted and just like be whatever they wanted. Sorry, the dog is... Some of the neighborhood dogs live on my porch again. I don't know why this keeps happening to me, but I love it. Don't get me wrong. He's just giving himself a little itch outside. But I had really just decided that all of this limitation that I had placed on myself was what was keeping me safe. And so when I went through my heartbreak, I had to make the very terrifying decision to start to actually unblock the door that was going to allow me to get to the life that I actually wanted to live, to the love that I truly wanted to experience, to the caliber of man I wanted to date, to the type of friendships and sisterhood that I wanted to call in, to the success I wanted to have in my career, to the money I wanted to be making. Like, I had to choose to remove all of the things that were keeping me in this limited box of self that I had deemed as safe. And so when I went through my heartbreak, I recognized that what I needed to do was to start to remove the things that stood in the way, like my lack of self-love, my lack of worth, my disconnection from my body, the pattern of choosing men that were toxic and challenging and ending up in these toxic, challenging relationships. Like, I really recognized when I went through that breakup that, like, I had two choices, and it was to stay, quote unquote, safe in this box, or it was to actually start to make decisions that felt fucking insane and dangerous and scary in the moment, but that I knew on the deepest level of me were going to be the things that set me free to have the life and the love that I actually wanted to have in this world. Right? And it wasn't just one insane feeling decision, right? It was like that over and over and over. Like, there was something about this heartbreak that just made me recognize that in order to change my entire life the way that I said I wanted to, I needed to let go of an old version of myself. And during this breakup, I was doing like a lot of reflection and a lot of writing, and I was starting to post stuff on Instagram just like for myself. I was really into writing and poetry when I was younger, and so I was really just like tapping back into that emotion, and this time sharing it. Not for anything, not because I wanted to get anything from it, just because it felt true in that moment. It felt like a way of connecting with other people that were moving through the same thing, or like could recognize themselves, could feel the resonance in what I was experiencing and what they were experiencing or had experienced in their life at some point. And as I started to write more, I started to understand myself more. I started to see more, like, written down on paper in front of me, like, oh, that's what you're afraid of. Oh, you thought that you were choosing him because you loved him, but actually he was allowing you to tap into this part of you that you have been so disconnected from. And so this reflection was really allowing me to see where were the places in my life that I was recognizing that I needed to change. And how did I even want to change? Like, I started listening to a lot of podcasts at this time because I was like, I know where I am, kind of, sort of. I have a sense that I don't want to be here anymore, but where am I going? And so podcasts were, for me, one of the ways that I started to connect with the dream that I had, with the vision that I had for the future that I wanted to create in my world. Podcasts really allowed me to open up my blinkered view of the world and of relationships and of friendships and like money and success and career and like all of the things that could be possible if I was just not so scared and staying in this little box that I had decided was safe. And so in this time of reflection, I started understanding that I was going to need to start doing things really differently if I wanted different results. Like, I started to understand that I was going to have to make choices that felt so crazy to me, the version of myself that I was then, that it felt completely unfamiliar and insane and just like a step like off the edge of a cliff. And I recognized literally that was what it was going to take. It was going to take me doing things that felt so completely out of character that it allowed me to step into a different version of myself. And one of the first huge, insane feeling choices that I made was to hire a coach. And bear in mind that at this point in my life, I really had no idea about the coaching industry. I had no idea what a coach was. Like, I had done therapy many times in my life at many different junctures in my life, but I never really felt like I had gotten as much as I needed to get out of it because I was so good at therapy in many ways. Like, I was a straight A therapy student. because I could put together the pieces and I could understand and I could do all of this mapping in my mind, but ultimately it didn't feel like anything in my body. And so I wasn't truly working through any of the emotions or the somatic resonance that was impacting me every day, that was kind of pushing me to make certain choices or not, because I had no connection to my body, right? And so when I started to understand that there was this other way, that there was this way where you could actually not just understand with the mind, but you could connect with your body, I just knew that it was going to be something that changed everything for me. Like there was just something about the body and how disconnected I was from my own body that I knew it was going to be a turning point, that I knew it was just going to be something that changed everything for me. And so in this moment of my life, I got on a call with a coach and I started to hear her speak about everything that could be possible if I actually was able to make the choices and the changes and the evolution in myself that I truly knew was going to be the thing that led me to the next level of my life. And I just felt this overwhelming draw to do this work. Like I just had this intuitive hit that it was going to be the thing that changed everything for me. And when I heard that the cost was $12,000 for this coaching program that was also a training to become a coach, I was shook, of course. I was somebody in my life at that point that couldn't spend $2 on a bottle of water when I was thirsty. Like spending $12,000 to retrain in the middle of my life from being a DJ and interior designer to being a coach, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? What? This is insane. In the middle of COVID, like insane. But I also knew on some level that it was the right move. Like I just knew it was going to be something that changed my life. And so I said yes, really before I even knew where I was going to get that money from. Like I just said yes to myself internally and was like, I am going to figure out how to get this money. I'm going to make it happen because I know that this is the next right thing for me. I just know it is. And when I decided that I was going to do this training no matter what, that I was going to find the money, that I was going to make it work, that I just knew it was going to be the next right thing for me, I had to start to push past all of the voices that were coming up in my head that were trying to push me back from going through that door, like back to the furniture analogy. Like I had started to move the things out of the door. I was trying to reach the door. I was like going to get to the door. And then I had all of this resistance because there was all of these voices that came up for me and they were like, you won't be able to find that money. That's insane. What if this doesn't work out? What if you can't change? What if it's too hard? What if you're so disconnected? What if you're too far gone? What if this is just what you do in life? What if this is just like as good as it gets? And all of these voices came up to try and stop me from actually showing up for myself and doing what I knew I needed to do in order to make change. Because it didn't feel safe to my subconscious. Like my subconscious was like, no, but the box we're in is so safe. But I knew that if I actually wanted to change my life, which I did because I knew I couldn't go back to a toxic relationship. Like, holy fuck, like I couldn't go back to that place. But I actually had no idea what I was going to do in the future. You know what I mean? I think my own journey was kind of a running away from a place that was really painful as opposed to running towards a future that seemed extremely bright at the time. Like at the time, I didn't truly have a vision for my future. I had this vague sense of like wanting a really deep power match love. I had a really vague sense of like, maybe I don't want to live in Berlin anymore. Like maybe I don't want to do the work I do anymore. Maybe I want to be location independent. Like maybe life could feel easier. Maybe money could feel easier. Maybe my relationships could be deeper. Maybe I could have the love I truly wanted to have. But it actually almost took me taking those first steps before I was able to start to crystallize what I even wanted from my future, right? Because from inside the box, you have no idea what's possible outside of the box. And I recognize that so fully now. Like I think about the version of myself that I was in that toxic relationship or shortly after that toxic relationship, like thinking about like what could be possible for my future and just realizing like I want to get away from Berlin. I don't want to be in a toxic relationship. Like I don't want to be in an abusive relationship. Like I want to feel safe. Like wow, my my vision for the future was so based in the trauma that I was experiencing at the time and had experienced in the past. And it actually takes starting to get on the ladder out of that box, on the ladder out of the trauma and the pain, that allows you to truly start to envision what could be possible in your future. And I see this a lot with clients, actually. A lot of women, when they come to me, like, one of the first sessions that we do together is really clarifying, like, where are we going in this work, in these sessions? Like, what is the vision for the future? And like, it can be really challenging in those first few minutes and hours and days and weeks to really understand what you want to create in this world. You know, it's got to be about more than just getting away from pain. It has to be about going towards a vision that is so incredibly enticing to you that you will do whatever it takes to get there. That you will show up for the sessions, that you will do the practices, that you will challenge those fears and beliefs, that you will travel down into your body and reconnect with parts of yourself you haven't known in years, decades, lifetimes. Where you're willing to do whatever it takes to heal the generational traumas and patterns that are playing out over and over and over, to be the cycle breaker that actually allows you and your entire lineage to move away from the trauma that is affecting you in your life right now. You actually need to start to believe in yourself and to trust yourself so that you can dream bigger. And all of this is a process, right? It's a process of shedding this past version of yourself. It's a process of removing all of the blockages to everything that stands in the way of you having the love and relationships and life and future that you desire to have. Because actually the future out there that you can create is so much bigger and so much brighter and so much more magical than you could ever fucking imagine. Like living in Thailand, driving down the street here, when I go to bring Sita to the beach, when I go to meet up with friends, when I go to play parties or go and meet people for dinner, or like when I'm just going out doing the most mundane shit in my life, like I'm going to get groceries. I like literally drive down the street and I'm like, I am so fucking grateful that I live here. I'm so grateful for the life that I've created. I'm so goddamn grateful for the people around me. I'm so goddamn grateful that I'm no longer in a toxic relationship, that I can stand up for myself, that I feel worthy, that I have standards and boundaries that I can uphold. Like, I cannot believe it. Like, I'm so fucking grateful. Because this life was not even on my radar from the toxic relationship that I was in all those years ago. Not possible, not probable, not even a figment of my wildest imagination, because of all of the things that were standing in the way of me actually being able to see and believe that this life was possible for me to choose. And this is why the work that I do with women inside of the Essensualist is such a fucking game changer. Because the work that we're doing is piece by piece removing every single obstacle that stands in the way of you actually creating your version of this perfect life. Your version of a perfect relationship, your version of success, your version of fulfillment. Like, what are the fears? What are the thoughts? What are the patterns that are in your body? What are the emotions that you associate with being around somebody that you like? What are the standards that you hold in your life? What are the boundaries that are there or not there depending on who's standing in front of you? Like, do you feel worthy of stepping into the life that you say you want? Do you love yourself enough to do whatever it takes to give yourself that life? Are you willing to not just let go of this ex-partner, but to let go of the pattern that you feel safe in inside of relationships? This pattern of push-pull or anxious avoidance, or just like not really needing to be seen by your partner, only showing up for them, not being shown up by them. Do you actually feel confident in who you are in the world? Do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? Are you feeling confident in how you look, in how you dress, in how you move? Do you respect yourself? Like, what are the things that are standing in the way of you actually becoming this bold, powerful, authentic, vulnerable, passionate, playful, wild, incredible woman that you are meant to be on this fucking earth? Like, I know that your vision for the future, if you actually drill down, is that your love is deep and intimate and passionate, that you guys are a power match, that he inspires you, that he gives you everything you could want and more, that you're not showing up as one person trying to drag the relationship into the future, but you are showing up as two independent, amazing, sovereign beings that are co-creating a beautiful relationship by shared effort, shared values, shared everything. That the life that you actually want to create is not just this standard cookie cutter thing that you've been taught by everybody else you have to have, where you have 2.4 children and you live in the city where you grew up and you just like do the standard thing. Like, I know that the life that you want to live is extraordinary, that it's epic, that it's wild, that it's you stepping into challenge and all of these adventures where you live outside of where you've come from, where you live maybe on a beautiful tropical island or up in the mountains or wherever it is for you, whatever that dream looks like for you. But where you are creating a life because it comes from deep inside of you that really aligns with who you are. The place that you live, the things that you do, the friendships that you create. Like, what are the passions that you want to bring out in your life? What does success look like to you? What does fulfillment look like to you? What are your money goals? Like, what is this life that you truly want to create? And then looking at anything that stands in the way of that and removing it systematically. Not just by understanding it, not just by drawing the dots of like, oh, well, this happened and then this happened and that's why I do this. Oh, well. But actually going deep into your somatic body where all of that trauma is stored in patterns, in how you move, in how you act, in how you react, in what those immediate reactions that you have in your life are, and allow you to repattern that by doing the work in the subconscious where we live 95% of our life. Actually repatterning the things that exist in there, the beliefs, the thoughts, the subconscious patterns that come out inside of relationships. By actually allowing yourself to completely reprogram your nervous system by accessing it through sensuality and sexuality. By reprogramming yourself in this most intimate space in life where you can learn to show up for yourself in this completely new way. Where you get to know yourself again, where you start to reconnect to your body, where you understand what you want and need, what you understand what safety feels like, what a yes feels like, what a no feels like, where your boundaries are, where your standards are, how you can actually repattern and create safety inside of your body, where you can start to create new intimacy with yourself, where you are always showing up for yourself, where you would never abandon yourself. And then we get to use this little microcosm that we've created inside of the sexuality and sensuality that is so innate to who you are and how you live your life. And then we superimpose it onto your life so that you can take those same lessons, those same embodied lessons, and take them out into the world and start to create a life that mirrors back to you the version of yourself you've become, the way that you live your life, the way that you show up for yourself, the worth that you hold for yourself, the love you hold for yourself, the connection you have to yourself. And then it just becomes this beautiful, incredible feedback loop where the more you love yourself, the more you give yourself everything you want, the more that you can create, the more that you can have. Because the work that it takes to actually create the life that you truly want to live on the other side of this heartbreak is to truly know yourself, to love yourself, to value yourself, to trust yourself, to do whatever it takes in order to create the life that you want, to be absolutely fucking relentless in your pursuit of the life that you say you want to have. To be willing to be open to the universe and to the magic that could come in to allow you to go somewhere even better if that's what's in store. To be solid and secure in who you know you are so that the trials and tribulations of the world, they don't knock you so far out of your center that you can't find your way back. They don't knock you off your block so that you can't uphold your standards or hold your boundaries in this world. The whole purpose of this work is to become the woman that knows herself so deeply that she can create the life that she truly wants to live. Because the work that we're doing is to heal the blocks that stand in the way of who you truly are. to allow you to take up space in the world, to be visible in the world, to be seen by people in your intimate relationships and on the big world stage. This work is truly stepping into the identity of the woman that can have the life that you truly want to have. Who is she? How does she move through the world? How does she move with friends? How does she deal with difficult situations in her life? Who is she in love? How does she date? How does she show up in the world? The work that we are doing is becoming that woman by becoming her in real time. Not when we get a certain thing, or not when we hit a certain milestone, or not when somebody else loves us and tells us that we're good and that we're worthy. We become her by becoming her anyway. By actually becoming the woman that the only thing that makes sense is you actually having the life that you truly want to have. And so to bring it back to what I was talking about at the very beginning of this podcast, you might have been told in your life that the way that you get away from the pain of this heartbreak is to let go and move on from your ex. To bury them, to push them away, to pretend they never existed, to delete all your photos and delete all the videos and just like wipe them clean from your Instagram. To run away from the pain that you're experiencing in this moment. But the truth is, as you do the work of truly healing, as you do the work of truly letting go of the patterns of pain and trauma that you are choosing over and over because they are familiar to you, you will naturally let go of the pain of this heartbreak because you are stepping into a new version of self, a new identity that you will hold, that will allow you to make the different choices, that will allow you to make bold moves in your life, that will allow you to be seen on a scale and step into the next level of your life in relationships or success or fulfillment in ways that you have never imagined possible. And as you do that, the relationship that you're coming from has become impossible for you to repeat ever again, because it's no longer a match for the woman that you have become. And the reason that the work that we do together inside of the Essentialist is so goddamn powerful, is so life-changing, is because it starts at the very core of who you are and what you believe. It begins with the elements of yourself that are buried so deep, that were so deeply programmed into you that you believed they were a part of you. But as we start to heal, you start to understand that those things were learned. They are elements of yourself that were given to you by other people, and that you have the option, the ability, and the tools now to truly step into the version of yourself that you want to be, into the identity that you desire to hold. And so it means that the life that you create around you gets to reflect back to you the version of yourself that you have become. This version of yourself isn't just able to like accidentally, unconsciously flow back into the type of relationship that you're coming from or the standards of the life you used to have, because you have truly become a new version of yourself at your core. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your truths, the way that you hold yourself, the standards that you hold, the boundaries that you hold, your connection to yourself, your connection to your body, the way that you treat yourself, the way that you are able to trust yourself is completely different. And then the world around you reflects that straight back to you. The version of yourself that you've become, the standards you hold, the boundaries you hold, the vision that you hold for the future, the possibility that you trust in, the self that you trust in, the universe that you trust in. And that's when life gets really fucking interesting. Because all of a sudden, anything is goddamn possible. And that is the most powerful knowledge in the entire goddamn world. So I'm going to leave you here with that one. I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast as much as I enjoy making it for you. I absolutely love being able to connect with you guys on this deeper level, to talk about things in more depth, to allow you deeper insights into the healing journey that you're on right now, my own healing journey, the path towards the future that you truly want to create. Also, if you are interested in joining the Essentialist, the next round begins on April 7th, and I am so fucking excited for it. The The Essentialist is truly the most incredible program to allow you to reinvent yourself in a way that you never even imagined possible. To heal your heartbreak, to release the destructive patterns that you carry into relationships. To learn to love, trust, and know yourself so deeply, to feel deeply worthy, to reconnect to your body, to your needs, to your wants, to your dreams, to your desires. To learn to feel confident and safe inside of your body, to recognize your beauty, to really reconnect to your sensuality and sexuality as a portal for healing, as you truly step into the version of yourself you know you're meant to be in this world. This is where you step into your most powerful, vulnerable, passionate, and authentic self. This is where you create the life that you have dreamt of living. If you're interested to know more, you can send me a DM on Instagram, or you can go to the link in my bio and you can find all of the details in the show notes. I am so freaking excited to see you inside, because I know that this is going to be the journey that literally shifts your life from the before into the after, and because you absolutely deserve that. Also, if you've enjoyed this podcast, I would love it if you would take a moment to rate, review, and share this podcast with somebody that you think could get value from the wisdom that I'm sharing here. Somebody that maybe thinks in this moment of their life that this heartbreak is going to be the thing that breaks them, when actually it's going to become the thing that allows them to live a life that they never even believed was possible for them. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You've been listening to Heartbreak Alchemy with Alaska Wolf.